What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome back to another video at Axe Entertainment. I'm your host, Zach Axe, and today I'm bringing you who, in my opinion, should and shouldn't win the 2025 Money in the Bank briefcase for the men and the women. Now, I should start this off by saying, at the recording of this video, the only people that have qualified for both matches for the men has been only Solo Sikoa, and for the women so far has been Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, and Alexa Bliss. I want to hurry up with this intro because I know my intros are always extremely long for no reason, but there will be no weekly awards this week, which sucks, but I just this past week, I didn't have enough time to record it, or I didn't really have enough time to watch Raw, SmackDown, or NXT all the way through, so I didn't really think that giving my full opinion would be great at this moment. But if you do want to see, I think I am going to give just some opinions and maybe even the awards out for what I did see on TikTok, and just do a little mini version over there. I'm going to start trying to upload more on TikTok, so go follow over there. But let's get right into the video. Now for the men, we have 8 people that should win, 8 people that shouldn't. For the women, we have 5 who should and shouldn't. Obviously less for the women because we already know 3 of the 6 competitors, and it looks like they're just doing 6 in both matches this year. Getting right into who should win from the men's side, first of all, is Bron Breakker. Now, Braun is a should win, but he's also kind of in the middle. I feel like he should win because Bron Breakker is excelling very, very rapidly. He was already great, but now just getting in the main event spot of Raw pretty much every week with this Seth Rollins group has definitely propelled him, and I feel like he definitely would be a great choice to win Money in the Bank. But at the same time, I feel like he also doesn't need it because he's already in the main event scene. He already has, the star power now that he can go after a world champion and doesn't have to be with Money in the Bank. But at the same time, it would also be a great storytelling device that you could use with Bron Breakker if Seth Rollins was to take the World Heavyweight Championship away from Jey Uso. Maybe having Bron Breakker with Money in the Bank, and kind of having the whole dissension storyline there between them. In the end, I hope they don't break up early. I wouldn't want them to break up this early, so maybe he should, maybe he shouldn't, but I think that it would be great to see Bron Breakker win a big accolade like Money in the Bank. First person on my list who shouldn't win Money in the Bank on the men's side is the only person that's qualified so far, Solo Sikoa. Now, Solo Sikoa, I did not want to see him qualify. I would much rather see Rey Fenix in the match, even though we knew he wasn't going to win. I would have loved to see Rey Fenix or Jimmy Uso in the match, just because they both, I feel like, would have brought so much more to the match than Solo Sikoa. And Solo, honestly, just a very boring version. He's like a very bland version of Umaga, like without the size or the agility of Umaga. And I've never been able to really get behind Solo Sikoa, so I'm really hoping that he does not win. He's in it, so I'm sure that'll be either a storyline piece for maybe LA Knight being in it or something else. But I really hope Solo Sikoa does not win. I do not think he needs it. I don't want to see Solo Sikoa with a world title anytime soon, so hopefully Solo does not win Money in the Bank. Next on my list for somebody that should win Money in the Bank is the person that everybody wanted to see win Money in the Bank 2 years ago, and that is LA Knight. Now, LA Knight, had that big moment where everyone thought he was going to win Money in the Bank before Priest ended up winning, and then last year again we're talking about LA Knight winning Money in the Bank, but I feel like right now he needs it more than ever because he's kind of stuck in the same position, and I feel like the best way to get him out of that position would be to let him win Money in the Bank, because right now he's kind of stuck in this US title picture that's kind of going nowhere. It just feels like every week he's getting beat up by a different member of the bloodline, or I just feel like he's not doing what he could be doing because he's so over right now. He's always been popular, and I think giving him the Money in the Bank would let him maybe even subtly move him over to Raw. I was talking about that in the Backlash review. I feel like subtly moving him over to Raw would be great because he has the Money in the Bank, so he could appear between both shows, and getting him away from SmackDown right now, which is jam-packed with just people going for the US title and then John Cena holding the main title hostage. I feel like giving LA Knight the Money in the Bank finally 2 years later than he should have won it, and just moving him to Raw would be a great move for LA Knight. Next on my list for somebody that shouldn't win Money in the Bank, I got Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, Shinsuke has a qualifying match coming up this week on SmackDown against, I think it's Alistair and LA Knight and Shinsuke. Now, if this was last year or any time before that, I would have told you, yes, I want to see Shinsuke Nakamura win Money in the Bank. But after his US title run, I do not want to see Shinsuke with a main title anytime soon, because I love this gimmick that they gave him. He had such a bright future with this gimmick of like the anime villain, almost is what people were calling it. That character was so good, and then when they gave him the title, that all the aura of that character just disappeared. Everything just went away. He wasn't like this imitating boss anymore, like when he was fighting with Cody or fighting with Seth. He was like this imitating anime boss. And then when they gave him the title, all of a sudden he just stopped appearing, he stopped having matches, and we were just praying to see the title get off of him. So I don't want to see Shinsuke win Money in the Bank and potentially do that to a world title in the future. Next on my list is the other guy in that triple threat, which is Aleister Black for who should win. Aleister is another one that's kind of in the middle for me, because as much as I love Aleister and as much as I want to see Aleister succeed, I don't really see him as a Money in the Bank holder. Money in the Bank holders are generally either a babyface that's very, very cocky already, or a heel, so the heel can cash in on the on the face. But Aleister Black's kind of like the scary good guy, kind of like the Undertaker. So I feel like it's kind of hard to give him something like Money in the Bank. But I just have him here because I want to see Aleister succeed so bad that giving him Money in the Bank, even if it doesn't necessarily fit his character, would still be awesome, because I want to see Aleister succeed. I want to see Aleister be able to, reach the top level that he wasn't able to reach last time. I mean, hell, he didn't even reach the middle level last time. I want to see him reach the top level this time. So if we have to give him Money in the Bank to do that, that is what I'm happy to do. And maybe seeing him cash in on John Cena or whoever beats John Cena, or maybe even Jey Uso, or down the line Logan, Gunther, it could be anybody, would just be awesome. And I really want to see Aleister Black succeed. Next on the list for shouldn't win, I'm going to give it to El Grande Americano / Chad Gable. I'm going to put them in the same category here, even though they're not the same person. But we saw Chad Gable asking for a match against, to qualify for Money in the Bank on Monday Night Raw. And last year, same thing as Shinsuke. If this was last year, I would have told you, yes, I want to see Chad Gable win Money in the Bank. I want to see Chad Gable go on and be a megastar. I want to see Chad Gable win and made a world title. But because it's this year and he has the gimmick of El Grande Americano right now, I feel like having him go for a world title just doesn't make sense. Because his whole gimmick right now is supposed to be, I hate luchadors, I'm going after luchadors. And maybe like Chad Gable, like by him, like without the El Grande Americano character, could pull it off. But right now with that whole feud of going after luchadors while your champions are Jey and Cena, I don't really see that working out, especially when there's not really a luchador in either of the top pictures. So I just don't see how his character could be weaved into Money in the Bank as a holder. Next up for should win, I have Finn Balor. Now Finn Balor will always go on a list like this because Finn Balor is a guy that I want to see succeed so bad. He is so good and so underrated and so underutilized. Ever since they killed, the Demon, or since he got injured, whatever you want to say that his downfall started, Finn Balor just has not been able to get back up. And I feel like until we break up the Judgment Day, that's not going to happen. And not so much that I want to see another Judgment Day member hold the briefcase. I just want to see Finn Balor have it and maybe break away from the Judgment Day with it and use it to become a champion. I don't care if he's a heel. I don't care if he's a face. I don't care if he's a demon. I don't care if he's a member of the Judgment Day. I just want to see Finn Balor hold main gold, since he never had the opportunity to do it after he lost the Universal title, and he's never got to be back in that top picture for the most part. I just want to see Finn Balor as a world champion, get him an actual proper run before it's way too late to capitalize on Finn Balor. He's way too good to be ignored. And next up for don't want to see win, I'm going to give it to AJ Styles. AJ is kind of in the same vein for me as Aleister, to where it's something I can't really see happening. I can't really see AJ coming out with the Money in the Bank briefcase. I can't really see AJ cashing in. Not at least the AJ that we have right now. Maybe like the heel AJ, the OC AJ, yeah. But the AJ we have right now, I just cannot see cashing in Money in the Bank on anybody, to be quite honest. And it's also, I want to see AJ. There's so many guys that I want to see win a big title, and AJ is one of them. I want to see him have another big main event run before he, hangs up the boots, since he's been saying he's going to do it around the time he's 50, and he's pretty close right now. So yeah, I want to see him World Heavyweight Championship picture or the WWE Championship picture, but I just feel like Money in the Bank wouldn't really fit his character at all. That's the only reason I have him on here. Next up for should win, we have Carmelo Hayes. Now, Carmelo Hayes and Bron Breakker came up together, and everyone was looking at these two to be the guys that are going to carry WWE to the future. And while it looks like Bron Breakker got absolutely pushed to the sky, Carmelo kind of got left at the bottom. This would be a great way to get Carmelo back onto the level of Bron Breakker, because when they came out of NXT together, they were very much on the same level. And now, like I said, Bron is in the main event of Raw, and we have Carmelo not doing much on SmackDown. Carmelo Hayes needs to be propelled to the upper echelon. He is another guy that's just way too good to be held down. And with his partnership with my favorite wrestler of all time, The Miz, I think that he can do so much, and especially with the Money in the Bank briefcase. And maybe even you could have a feud with The Miz at some point down the road, since, you know, Miz would be, if he beat Melo for the briefcase, be the only 3-time Money in the Bank holder. Not winner, but holder. He has so many storylines that he could tell and branch off of, and Melo is such a good mouthpiece that it'd be so easy for him to sell being Mr. Money in the Bank. Next, for who shouldn't win, I have Penta. Now, Penta is one of my favorite wrestlers on Monday Night Raw right now, and I want to see him get to the upper echelon of the business, but he's another kind of AJ Styles type character where I can't see him holding the Money in the Bank. He's a little bit, I could see him holding it more than I could see AJ holding it, but at the same time, I couldn't see Penta coming up to cash in on a Jey Uso or cashing in on a John Cena. I just couldn't see it. So as much as I want Penta to get to the top, he just got here at the same time. Aleister, I know, just got here also, but Aleister's been there before. This is Penta's first time in WWE, so I want him to kind of grow a little bit more in the WWE system and have, you know, more matches with different guys. I know we're kind of struggling right now to get matches with anybody that's not Judgment Day or Chad Gable, but I would love to see him have a little bit more matches, get a little bit more seasoning before we can talk about him as the main eventer. Next up for should win, we have Sami Zayn. Now, Sami kind of should be on the same level as AJ or Penta, where it's like, okay, I couldn't really see Sami holding this. But I feel like Sami's one of those guys that can just flip the switch, because we've seen him doing it back with the Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon storyline, where he can just flip from face to heel or heel to face like that. This would be very good if he could win Money in the Bank. It could start a feud. The feud that I wanted to see, if you watched the first ever WWE Weekly Awards, I said I wanted to see a feud between Sami and Jey Uso, and I feel like this would be great to start a feud between Sami and Jey Uso if Jey's able to clear, you know, Gunther and Logan and Seth and whoever. Then he needs another guy, you know, to beat up on. Sami Zayn would be perfect to come in. And then also, the main reason, not even the feud with Jey Uso is not the main reason I want to see him win Money in the Bank, is because Sami Zayn has never held a world championship in WWE. And he is, no matter what people say, he is way too good to not ever be a WWE world champion. He needs to win at least one before he retires. He is way too good to never hold a main title. So getting Sami this Money in the Bank and having him being able to cash in as a heel or as a face cash in from Sami would get a huge reaction. Or a heel cash in with Sami, I feel like would also get a huge reaction, because like I said, so many people want to see him as a world champion. Next up, we have a quick one on the do not win, Damian Priest. After this feud with Drew, one of them is going to end up in Money in the Bank, because, you know, the feud probably, hopefully, coming to a culmination at Saturday night main event coming up this Saturday. So I'm hoping that that ends their feud, and I'm assuming one, if not both, are going to end up in Money in the Bank. And we've seen Damian as Money in the Bank holder. He did not elevate the briefcase. Nobody saw him as a main eventer. Nobody saw him as a world champion until he cashed in and elevated himself. But it was so soon that he's already, you know, been there and done that. And he's also still kind of in the main event picture, so I feel like he does not need the Money in the Bank again. Next up on the should win, we actually have Drew McIntyre, and call me crazy because we saw what happened last year. You know, Drew McIntyre was Mr. Money in the Bank for a whole 30 minutes before he cashed it in and lost it because of CM Punk. If he did win again this year, I think things could be different, and I think this would be a great kind of moment, because of the fact that I know they're not really feuding anymore because Drew's on a different brand, but Drew and Punk, you know, had one of the biggest feuds of the last 5 years, and CM Punk is the only person in history to win the Money in the Bank briefcase twice, win it, I'm not talking about Miz or Edge, being two-time holders. I'm talking about winning the Money in the Bank briefcase. CM Punk's the only guy to do it twice, and CM Punk is the only guy to do it back-to-back on top of that. So having Drew take that same accolade kind of away from Punk will be kind of poetic justice, that he has the same accolade that CM Punk once was the only person to ever have, and now he takes it away. And then also from that, we'd get Drew McIntyre going after a main championship. And I think Drew McIntyre needs another WWE Championship run. I know everybody has said this because when he had his first one, it was in front of nobody. The pandemic caused him to have no reaction. All his matches were in front of nobody. And I think Drew has earned another championship run, whether it's with the World Heavyweight Championship or whether it's the WWE Championship. Either or, I don't care which one. I just want to see Drew as the main champion. And like I said, it'd be funny to give him the accolade that only CM Punk has right now. And next up for Do Not Win, I actually have CM Punk. And CM Punk is a little bit different from the rest of why I don't want him to win, and that's because I feel like he is such a well-known main eventer right now that he does not need it one bit. And I know I've said that with Braun Breaker. CM Punk is so much closer to the main event that if CM Punk was in a title match tomorrow, nobody would question it. If CM Punk won the main championship tomorrow, no one would question it. And I think CM Punk has a lot of feuds that he can just go off of right now. He has so many different ways that he can branch off and fight these different guys, that I think Money in the Bank just is something he doesn't need. I feel like he'd be a great Money in the Bank, and we've seen him win it twice, like I said. But I don't think CM Punk needs it at this day and age. I think he should just do it without Money in the Bank. I think giving him a title nowadays without having to go through Money in the Bank would be such a richer moment than having him cash in. Finally, rounding out the men for who should win, I have a guy that's not going to win, but a guy that I am going to pray wins, fall and pray that he wins, and that is Karrion Kross. I am hoping that WWE does not just turn a deaf ear to Karrion Kross, or worse than turning a deaf ear to Karrion Kross would be not capitalizing on him right now and being like, okay, we're going to push him, just not right now, later. And then he's not popular when he finally gets pushed, which we've seen with a lot of different guys. WWE doesn't push them until it's already too late, and then when they fall flat on their face with that push, they blame the superstar, but you didn't capitalize on the popularity, so it's not their fault. Karrion Kross is more popular than he's ever been right now. He is the #1 selling t-shirt on WWEshop.com. He is popular as hell right now, and he needs to be capitalized on. He's such a good wrestler, and I know he should start with a lesser title because, fun fact, Karrion Kross has never won a championship on the main roster, he should probably start with a lesser one. But I feel like if you throw him into, if you throw him into the World Championship picture, have him be a World Champion first, then the other titles can come later. And then this guy that we all want to be on top can be on top. And I think on Monday Night Raw, it's so much easier to just throw him in. I feel like him cashing in on Jey Uso would be great. It's an easy, Karrion Kross championship run that you have right there. And that can start a feud between Jey Uso and Karrion Kross. Or even John Cena, honestly. I don't care. I just want to see Karrion Kross get capitalized on right now because he has so much potential. He's so popular. He's got to be doing something right if he hasn't been released at this point again. So I feel like he needs to win Money in the Bank. He's probably not even going to get a qualifying match, but I would love to see Karrion Kross as Mr. Money in the Bank. He's #1 on my list. And then rounding out the don't give the Money in the Bank win to, we're gonna give this last one to the guy that's been in Money in the Bank for the past 4 years. It feels like. That's Logan Paul. I think Logan Paul would honestly be a great Money in the Bank holder. I truthfully don't want to see Logan Paul win the Money in the Bank when he's already kind of feuding with the world champion right now. I don't think he needs the Money in the Bank. Maybe if he gets pushed to the side for Gunther or for Seth or for Braun or for whoever, then maybe him coming back into the fold with the Money in the Bank would be brilliant. But I just personally don't want to see Logan Paul win Money in the Bank. That'd be a perfect way to get a main title on Logan, but I just don't want to see it right now. I hope this video is not running too long. I've been trying to speed talk through everybody so you guys don't have to sit here for another 30-minute video. But let's get into the 5 women that should and shouldn't. Let's start with the shouldn't, actually, for the women. And we're going to start with my favorite woman, my favorite women's wrestler right now, and that is Rhea Ripley. Should not win Money in the Bank. And hers is really simple, so I'm just going to speed run through this one. She's just way too big of a star to need Money in the Bank. I'm glad she's in the match because she's going to get, you know, the big pop, and it's more star power to that match. But at the same time, I don't think she needs Money in the Bank, because she's just like, I think I said, with CM Punk. Snap your fingers, tomorrow she's in a World Championship match, no one's going to bat an eye, because she's at the top of the card. Io Sky may be the champion, but honestly, Rhea is right there, you know, right by Io Sky for, you know, rankings in the women's division on Monday Night Raw, so she really does not need this win. As much as I love her, she does not need this win. Someone that does need this win, though, is the person that just qualified on Monday Night Raw, and that is Roxanne Perez. Now, Roxanne Perez is officially, finally, on Monday Night Raw, and it's really funny because in Weekly Awards one time I said that you could take from NXT Stephanie, Julia, and Roxanne, bring them to main roster, and the NXT Women's Division would still be fine. Well, they took two of them. Julia's on SmackDown, and Roxanne's on Raw. And now that she has officially been added to Raw, I think it's a lot more... There's a lot more of a chance that she is going to win Money in the Bank, because when she was in the Elimination Chamber, she was still in NXT. So no one really saw her winning Elimination Chamber because, you know, like I said, she's not a main roster competitor. But now that she is officially a main roster competitor, this is the perfect time to propel a young talent immediately out of the gate. And I know they've kind of been doing it with her and Julia, having them face some of the biggest superstars, you know, the women's division on Raw has to offer recently, with, you know, Rhea and Io and, you know, pretty much just Rhea and Io. But I think propelling her off the riff with Money in the Bank would be great, kind of like they did with Tiffany, because Tiffany wasn't even there for a year before they gave her the Money in the Bank briefcase. And she's been a workhorse, you know, on Raw and on SmackDown and on NXT, just killing it no matter where she goes. I think she'd be a great choice, probably my number one choice to win Money in the Bank. Number 2 on my shouldn't win list is Charlotte Flair. Why? Charlotte Flair doesn't need this accolade. Next up on my should win list, I'm going to put Alexa Bliss. And Alexa Bliss has already been a women's Money in the Bank holder before, and she was one of the people that cashed in on the same night, because that's what we've been getting a lot of from the women's division, is cashing on the same night and cashing on Charlotte Flair. One or the other is going to happen whenever you win the women's Money in the Bank, it seems. But Alexa Bliss, usually I don't want a 2-time winner right now, just because there's so many good people that I want to, you know, be propelled by this. But Alexa Bliss just came back. She has not held the World Championship or the Women's Championship since they've changed. A lot of people haven't. And I want to see Alexa Bliss at the top of the card again. I want to take a big card. I want to see Alexa Bliss at the top of the card again. So I think giving her Money in the Bank would be a great device to push her up there right now. Even if it's not right now, if it's a little bit in the future. Alexa Bliss is in my top 3 women's wrestlers of all time. So of course I want to see her win, but like I said, it makes more sense because she just came back and she hasn't been a main eventer on Raw or SmackDown since like 2019, 2020. Next up for shouldn't win, it's the woman that's actually going to be competing for it. Spot is Zelina Vega, the Women's United States Championship. And the reason I have her on shouldn't win is simple. It's because she just won the Women's U.S. Championship. She hasn't told any stories with the Women's U.S. Championship. She hasn't had a chance to flourish with the Women's U.S. Championship. So I just feel like giving her Money in the Bank when she just now became Women's U.S. Champion would just kind of be stupid. Trying to make her hold, like, you know, 2 weights at the same time, telling 2 separate stories. The story of having Money in the Bank, while at the same time the story of having the U.S. title, which people have done it. The Miz did it pretty damn well back in 2010. But I don't think that Zelina Vega right now has the capacity to be able to kind of split herself into 2 and tell 2 different stories. So I think I just want to see her focus on the Women's U.S. title, propelling that, because we know that needs propelled right now more than ever. I mean, it's new. What do you mean more than ever? But it needs propelled right now. Giving her the Women's Money in the Bank would just be too much weight to carry right now when she's trying to propel the Women's U.S. title. I'm not going to say I feel like anymore. Next up for who should win, I have Julia. Julia, pretty much take everything I said about Roxanne Perez and put it right here. Roxanne Perez just came up. She's one of the best women's wrestlers on the roster, and she needs to win the briefcase. Put that right here for Julia. Julia just came up. Julia is one of the best wrestlers in the women's division on any of the shows, period. And putting her as Women's Money in the Bank off the riff would just be a great way of, you know, showing your faith in Julia as soon as she comes up, and she would be a great Women's Money in the Bank holder. Next up for shouldn't win has been pretty easy, honestly, up to this point. We're going to give it to Nia Jax. Why? I don't want to see Nia Jax as a world champion right now. I think there's so many women in the division that have earned it more than Nia Jax. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to say something I never thought I'd say. Nia Jax has improved a lot in the ring. She just had a great match with Tiffany Stratton on SmackDown, but I don't want to see Nia Jax as Money in the Bank. I don't want to see Nia Jax, win the World Championship. Nobody wanted to see her win the World Championship when she came back in the first place. So giving her the Money in the Bank would kind of be the same letdown almost that we already suffered when she won the Women's Championship. And I think Nia definitely could have a couple more title reigns in her, but I don't want to see it right now. Next up for should win, we have Naomi. Naomi has been pretty much carrying like the SmackDown Women's division, besides Tiffany Stratton, and Nia has been carrying the SmackDown Women's division on her back for pretty much since, I'd say, she pushed Jade Cargill off of the whatever she pushed her off of. And Naomi's new character, seeing her as a heel for pretty much one of the first times like in WWE as an actual bona fide heel, not like as a member of Team Bad or whatever. As a solo heel, she's definitely flourishing a lot more than her goofy little, glow, which everyone got behind her, but that wasn't the point. The point was that character, just like Bayley with the wavy, wacky, inflatable arm flailing tube men, that character had a ceiling. And now that she's a heel, she broke through that ceiling, and she had a great match with Jade Cargill at WrestleMania. She's been having pretty good matches on SmackDown, I mean. She's a little bit goofy over the top sometimes, like her punches on Jade Cargill that one day, and the chair spot with Jade just last week on SmackDown. But I think giving her Money in the Bank would be a great plot device to raise Naomi back to the main event level where she belongs. Lastly, for who I don't want to see win, I'm going to give it to Jade Cargill. And Jade Cargill is great. I want to see her succeed in WWE, but I don't want to see it through Money in the Bank, kind of like I was saying Penta. I think I want to see her have more matches, have more feuds, have more pretty much everything that you can have in WWE before she gets propelled to that main spot. And that's kind of what they're doing right now. Every time she gets close to that Women's World Championship, she gets yanked back down into a different program. And I think that's what we need to continue to do until maybe she's got a little bit more WWE seasoning on her. And she's great, and I hope she wins a World Championship sometime in the near future, honestly, a little bit after some of these feuds. But I don't want to see her win Money in the Bank. I think it's too early. I don't think she has the right character for it. But I do, like I said, want to see her succeed someday, just not here. And rounding it off, for a woman that should win Money in the Bank, I'm going to give it to Lyra Valkyria. This one's one that's not likely to happen because of her feud with Becky Lynch. But that's one of the reasons I want to see Lyra win Money in the Bank. And I know I just said with Zelina Vega that she's going to have a hard time kind of shuffling between the two. I think Lyra can do it pretty easily, because Lyra, if she won Women's Money in the Bank, I bet you literally the next pay-per-view she's going to lose the Intercontinental Championship to Becky Lynch. It's going to probably happen sometime soon. That's why this feud is continuing, is because Becky's going to take that title. So giving her Women's Money in the Bank and then having her lose the IC title, that'll immediately pick her back up. So when you lose a title, you usually go back down. Well, her being Women's Money in the Bank already after losing the Intercontinental Championship will bring her back up. And knowing how they like to use their Money in the Bank briefcase holders, they take loss excuse me. They take loss after loss after loss usually, because they don't need to win, because they can just be a champion tomorrow. So I think giving her the Women's Money in the Bank and then having her lose the Intercontinental Championship would be a perfect way to take the Intercontinental Championship off of her, go from the mid card and race her to the main card. Anyways, I hope this video didn't run too long. I was trying to keep it like around 20 minutes. Hopefully we get there. It's probably at like 30 right now. I rambled for quite a bit. Like I said, I do apologize that there's no weekly awards for last week, but there will be the weekly awards this week, and that series will continue. It's just I missed one because this week has been hectic. This past week been hectic, but Monday Night Raw was tonight. I'm recording this right after Monday Night Raw, and then of course we have NXT tomorrow, and then SmackDown on Friday. That will get a weekly awards. But if you did like this video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Ring that bell for notification if there's anybody that you thought maybe should have been on the wrong side. If there's any people I didn't even say that should or shouldn't win, leave it in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
This happened if I had real tough love, I'm bad at this, and I'm bad for this. Narcissistic tendencies, I don't care about no one else. Narcissistic tendencies, I'm low, so set me on the shelf. Few people ever have my back, yeah, there ain't no doubt about that.